and influenza, which you would have covered in Unit 5 and would have been covered for your first assignment. The common cold, or coryza, it's basically one of humanity's most common illnesses. It's normally airborne. It can happen at any time of the year, but generally happens around the shoulder seasons or within winter when one's immune systems are a little bit low. Someone sneezes, droplets fly through the air, and Bob's your uncle. Symptoms normally occur within 2 to 3 days, and most common, it's miserable. Sometimes you might have a fever, but generally that it doesn't happen within the common cold. That would generally happen more with flu. But you're feeling pretty ordinary. The best thing you can really do is go home, go to bed. Normally there is presenting a postnasal drip and also a sore throat with common myalgia or aches and pains. So when we have a look at it, there's nasal congestion, a sore throat, a headache. Now if you're smart, you can probably get onto it pretty quickly with most people by asking them, have you got a sore throat? First sign of a sore throat, pop some vitamin C and zinc lozenges. Get them on some nice herbal teas such as yarrow, elderflower and peppermint or yep, and tell them to go to bed with a Panadol. So how do you get it? A person coughs, sneezes or blows their nose. You touch, anything you touch really where someone else has touched it previously, who's been contaminated with a virus. Generally you're contagious in that first 2 to 3 days. And normally, if it resolves nicely, there aren't secondary infections. However, there can be, such as ear infections, sinusitis, pneumonia, bronchitis. These can be quite serious consequences for the elderly and frail, or the very young and vulnerable. So wash your hands, certainly after nose wiping. In daycare centres, choose smaller classes if you can. It's basically a breeding ground for viruses. Saying that, it's also a great opportunity for children to build up their immune system. So a lot of it is about parents themselves. If the child's sick, keep them home. Get enough sleep. That's really important. And if there is a cough presenting, make sure the cough is soothed down at night. Avoid the mucus forming foods. What do we mean by that? You know, cheese, dairy, those type of things. Stay home, rest. Go to bed. Sweat it out. Increase your fluids. Lots of herbal teas, bone broth, chicken soup. Use food medicines, garlic, onions, ginger, chilies, lemongrass, turmeric. And as I said before, vitamin C and zinc. That is just the first port of call. I won't talk too much about influenza. Suffice to say, every now and again, we are subject to pandemics, which we seem to have been in over the last few years. There are other strains such as human, pig and bird flu. Basically, the virus reproduces within the epithelium and destroys the cilia. The cilia is what is responsible for chucking out all the mucus. I won't go through this chart, but you can do some reading. This came from the World Health Organization. It just basically charts where influenza is spreading. So how does it work? Enters into the respiratory tract, starts replicating, the respiratory tract itself becomes swollen and inflamed, and then symptoms start to appear. It is incredibly miserable. Symptoms: cough, chest discomfort, fever and chills. These normally decrease by day 3. Myalgia, that real malaise and aching and pain. Exhaustion, children may vomit and have diarrhea. There is a susceptibility towards bronchitis and pneumonia. So it's really very, very important to stay home and rest and, look after, take the onus off the liver by lots of broths and liquids and warming foods. Viruses can only replicate in living cells, and it's a multi-step process. It has to bind to and enter the cell, and there it produces new copies of proteins and RNA. It then reassembles these components into new viral particles and will exit the host cell. So if we can try and destroy those viruses, and there are a number of herbs that look at envelope viruses. These are St. John's wort, myrrh, and a couple of others in that. And we do go for our antivirals such as thyme. I'm not going to go through this report. You can have a look at it yourself. So what are our antivirals? Hypericum, really good herb to use, particularly if there's aching muscles. That's St. John's wort. Just be careful if people are on other medications to check that with their interactions. Andrographis paniculata. This is a wonderful herb. It's a fantastic antiviral and it's a really powerful adaptogen. Tabui impetigonosa, sorry, can't speak today. Also a very, very important herb in this area. Melissa officinalis. Now this is an interesting herb. It's very antiviral topically, not so much internally. It's still very useful for calming the nervous system down and acting as a nervine. Chelidonium is a very good bitter herb. It works well with the liver as well. Astragalus, do not use this herb in the acute phase. You tend to use this herb as a warming herb in the chronic stage or in post-recovery. Echinacea, of course, any of the species, Angustifolia, purpurea or pallida are useful in this system. Garlic, take as a tablet, high dose. And of course the mushroom 5 or 8 combinations are very important. They contain the polysaccharides, which are also found in both astragalus and echinacea. These are highly anti-inflammatory. So here's your beautiful Andrographis. It is an antiviral, antibacterial herb, very important with the respiratory system. Hypericum, beautiful St. John's wort. Paudarco, this is becoming endangered. This is tabui. Important to use this at a discriminate dose and make sure the quality is very good. Some of the herbal manufacturers often don't have this available simply because they don't like the quality of it. Chelidonium, wonderful herb. It's yellow. If you look at the colour of it, the colour of the liver, that's a nice way of remembering what it does. So it really helps get rid of viruses from the liver as well. Astragalus, as I've said, beautiful herb, very warming bitter, along with cynara. These are warming bitters and they're useful in latter stages of recovery. Melissa, once again, it's beautiful. It's part of the mint family. As I said, topically very antiviral. It is a nervine though, so very useful, and it's in respiratory to calm and soothe. So just to have a quick look at the differences between the common cold and influenza. Flu you normally get within hours, and it's the entire respiratory tract. Occasionally you might get the runny nose. That's more frequent with the common cold. Cough may be quite severe and important to have a look at it. There's pronounced chest discomfort. Fever doesn't really present with the cold, it is with influenza, and this is often the major point of difference. When someone says they've got flu and they don't have fever, it's generally a cold. Myalgia is very severe in influenza. It's the misery of flu. Malaise may be long lasting, so it's very important to build up that immune system. And rest and sleep. Headaches will be severe often, and exhaustion is early and severe. Sneezing and sore throat are more common with the common cold. So what do we do herbally? We look at respiratory system trophorestoratives, a specific, a mucous membrane tonic, antimicrobials. Generally, most colds tend to start off as a virus. That's where you want to keep them, but they may often become bacterial if there is not sufficient rest and build up of the immune system. They're often very sinusy. It's good to dilute and use mucolytics to break down the mucus. Anti-inflammatories, immune stimulants, and circ stims. For flu, we're looking at trophos, antivirals, febrifuges or diaphoretics, anti-inflammatories, immune stimulants, circ stims, relaxing expectorants if there should be a chest infection, lymphatics, and antitussives when necessary. That's it for the respiratory system. Remember your key herbs here will be herbs such as elderflower. So when I say that's it for the respiratory, I mean that's it for flu and colds in the upper respiratory. So our key herbs here: peppermint, yarrow, elderflower, glycyrrhiza or licorice, eyebright, goldenrod, those type of herbs. Thank you.